Alright, here we are, the day of the main event. Swap meet is in action.
16 hours, 16 days. Multiply that by 100 and a cheap scale, $1,600. So it's like 11. Yeah.
It's $100 a night these days is real conservative. That's a place where you have to bring your NI number.
Yeah.
Of course you can do it.
Yeah.
At least you know why.
They're really happy at this point. All the TVs I brought to get rid of that aren't in the auction are definitely gone.
Oh, you're from Muskegon.
Yeah.
So we heard you got it running. Where that is?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, talk to Al.
It was about. Well, you know, we got to get it done.
Yeah, so drives for electric cars. I don't feel
Unfortunately, I'm not a rich man, and I can pay people to do it. So I got to do it myself.
I have to have some big things on this. Got to get my driveway. Hold on, right down. Some years.
And that thing will play beautiful for 2 weeks. And
Hello.
then all of a sudden,
Have you slept it all off? I heard you hit it pretty hard last night.
not on video.
Okay.
Right, that's right. Don't ever think that.
No, you're in the business.
Hey Ned,
Yes.
we got somebody that's totally interested in some tubes here for good reason.
Alright, well then.
You might want to jack your price up,
Alright.
but still make a deal. I don't care.
Look at these 6J and 6s.
Yes.
I told
I know they're a lot more. What would you consider if you're interested?
because he said he wants a tray.
A trade?
A tray,
Oh, a trade.
the whole lot.
Oh, a lot.
I was struggling.
What?
Come on.
Not real sure.
You don't want to go more than a little more than 100?
I would think 300.
Yeah, but you want to take this home. That's the thing.
Well, I know. I mean, but you got these are sweet. I know what you want on these.
Yeah, but we're
I know.
Somebody else will take the other one. It's got a ribbon on it and everything.
It's a crazy book, but it's probably the story of my life right there.
Yeah, I got a few good items back there, I guess.
I'm surprised that predictor hasn't had any action on it.
Hey guys, I am freshly back from the 2026 Early Television Museum Annual Convention. I want to give you a quick summary of what went down. The main reason I wanted to go, aside from having fun and hanging out with some of my friends and working on stuff and seeing cool new things, was to check out the museum's RCA RR-359. I already had permission to pull the chassis and take photos and get all the information I could gather. But what I hadn't expected, well, was where things ended up. So when I arrived on Friday, I had also agreed to do a presentation on the RR-359 Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock. Got there around 10:30, 11, so I didn't have a whole lot of time. So shortly after I got there, grabbed a friend and we started checking out the museum set. We had move it, it's quite heavy, and spin it around, and then work on disassembling it. Now the thing about the museum set is the main chassis are in really good condition and mostly all original, aside from somebody did recap it and restore it electrically, but it had been heavily modified in terms of the controls and the picture tube. So the original vertically mounted picture tube was long gone when the set was found, I think in Virginia, 25, 30, 40 years ago, something like that. And somebody had mounted a direct view CRT on top of the cabinet. So the tilt-up mirror lid was gone, the CRT mounting, shielding, socket, and the CRT was all gone. And the controls that normally sit and are mounted vertically in excess of the top lid were rotated 90 degrees and holes were drilled into the front of the cabinet. Well, all that was undone. The holes were filled in, the front was re-veneered. An original top was located from, I guess, a part set or some such. And a different CRT was wired up. They put a different socket on it and made some changes to it. All right. So it took us a little while to figure out how to get the thing apart. What we did, and we pulled the chassis out, the upper chassis, and I got all my photos and measurements of the tuner and other stuff that I was missing, and how the original wiring and candome resistors and all that good stuff, all the stuff that's chewed up on mine, I got to see how it was laid out in this set. Then I did a presentation on it. I'll try to get my hands on the raw footage. I think it was live streamed. It's available somewhere. Hopefully, if not, I'll try to publish it myself. Basically, I talked about what is an RR-359, what were the field trials all about, what was distinct about this model, and what were some of the technological challenges and innovative solutions they came up with to make this thing work. Okay, well, while doing all that, we got to thinking, how do we know a set doesn't actually work? So when we spun it around, we saw that it wasn't connected. The upper and lower chassis weren't plugged together. The CRT was not connected. And I had been told that the set had stopped working. Turns out, when we asked around, the owner of the museum, people who were around back when the museum acquired it 25 years ago or something like that, that the set was working when the museum acquired it, and it had just never been fully reassembled and wired back together. So that's what we set out to do. To be honest, we were a little bit apprehensive about doing it. Of course, it's a valuable set. It's a rare set. It's owned by the museum, so I didn't want to break anything. But the more we looked, we saw that the modifications were labeled. Somebody had penciled in what connected where. We also discovered that one of the tubes was not right. The 8389 high voltage rectifier had been replaced with a 2X2, which would kind of work, but it's definitely exceeding its specs. I hunted around and found an 8013A, sort of an industrial high voltage rectifier, overkill. That's what was present in my set when I got mine as well. So we popped that in. We found out the focus wire had just been cut. I guess when somebody separated the chassis for shipping, when it went to the museum, they didn't realize that it unscrewed from inside, and they just cut the darn thing. So we just spliced that back together. We still weren't sure about some of the wires, and then we noticed the penciled in labeling, and somebody even color-coded it. The red wire goes here, the green wire goes here. So the more we looked at it, the more we started hooking things back up. We got more confident about it. The only thing we weren't really certain about was it appeared that electrolytics had been restuffed. The box capacitors had been restuffed, but we didn't know restuffed with what. What was the condition of the capacitors inside that had been replaced 20, 30 years ago. But we went for it. So we pulled out all the rectifier tubes, the two 5U4s and both the high voltage rectifiers, powered it up. All the tubes filaments lit up. Awesome. Put the high voltage rectifiers back in. We got high voltage. Awesome. Put the 5U4s back in. Powered it up. Seemed to be doing something. I mean, we got a little hum out of the speaker. I could measure with a high voltage probe we have high voltage, but nothing on the CRT. Power cycled it a few times, and somebody noticed when it powered down, a splotch appeared in the CRT face and faded away. I've seen that before. That can happen for a couple reasons. One, the biasing on the cathode or grid might be driving the thing into cutoff when it's running, or it could just be the absence of a signal, that it's just showing all black levels. Turned out to be a few things. One, a pot had gone bad. Now the controls on this thing are a little odd, so instead of hold, the controls are called speed, background instead of brightness, sharpness instead of contrast. But I think it was the contrast control that had gone open. And a biasing resistor that sets the operating range of the brightness control was off, and we shorted that out, and that got us a raster. Still no reception. We tried direct video injection. That didn't work too well. So we decided to go through the tuner. Now, the original A305A mixer tube was present, but the grid cap had broken off. Looks like the tube is still good, but it needs to be soldered back on and glue reaffixed and make it secure. It's a very rare tube. We didn't want to monkey with it. So we dug up a 6D6, which turns out worked well enough. We were able to go right through the antenna terminals, use the built-in tuner, and we were able to tune in and get a stable image. No sound. For sound, it had already been modified to have an RCA jack that went directly to the 2A3 audio output stage. It appears this set had been modified by RCA engineers way back when. It had an FM discriminator and a 6H6 dual diode tube added to it. It looked too neatly done. It looked like it was all RCA parts. What we don't know is back when this thing was last aligned and configured, what was the spacing for the audio carrier? It might not have been 4.5 megahertz. Anyways, we just directly injected sound. It sounded beautiful with those push-pull 2A3s, and we got a decent enough looking image. So, really jazzed about that and encouraged that, you know, maybe this isn't quite as daunting as it is. Yes, the wiring in mine is a disaster, but the actual circuits are pretty simple, and I'm jazzed to get back into it. I also did look through the museum storerooms, and I found nothing useful for me. I found some tubes. Nothing directly for that set, though, but for other projects like the Dumont Clifton next to me. I got some more tubes for it, should I need them. But I didn't find those 4-pin sockets with the odd spacing and the smaller diameter or cutout hole. Just nothing like that, or dog bone resistors or anything else that I might need. So I'm right back to where I was with, I'm going to have to fabricate parts myself or scrounge them up myself or make adapters to make things fit. So that's fine, that's fine. Now, as far as the rest of the convention, I was doing a presentation, and I had volunteered to help run the presentations there. So I was in the rec center helping set up the lighting and the microphones and stuff. I missed most of the auction and some of the other activities, so don't ask me what things sold for or who got what, because I don't know. But the whole auction is available online. I also didn't bid on anything. The only set I got, I'd already arranged for the sale before I went there. I just met somebody there. But let me tell you a little bit about what happens there, because a lot of people get hung up on the auction. There's also a swap meet. There's also either a silent auction or a consignment sale, but there's usually other stuff for sale besides the actual live auction. And this year was no exception, and there were a lot of really cool sets there, some early color sets. So I didn't come back with a whole lot, aside from I had a great time, and I never expected to get that RR-359 working. And we had an audience that was growing while we were tinkering with it. By the time we were done, we had a decent-sized group of people around us, all very excited to see this thing come back to life. So that was a blast. As I say, I got a bunch of tubes, some CRTs. Most of them I think will sub for a 7JP4. We'll experiment with those next time I get an electrostatic chassis up on the workbench. And I got some odds and ends, and that's what we're going to go through for the remainder of the video. But all in all, the convention was a big success, and I can't wait to get back there and tinker around more with those sets. There we go. That's better. So, I believe this set's sat in the same home its entire life, which explains why it's in pretty good condition. It's an all-glass CRT. It's a 12-inch. I think it's the same chassis as the blonde I was working on. But part of the reason I want to get it is my blonde set is missing these control doors. And I figure at least I've got a shot at reproducing them if I've got some originals to work off of. I believe inside it is all original, unrestored. Still has the back, all the knobs, all that good stuff. Very clean, dust-free, dirt-free slight staining on top of the mahogany cabinet. Howard's Restore finish. Put some wax on it, it'll look a lot better. Alright, let's take a look at the stuff I picked up, starting with the CRTs. This should be a 3 HP7. Now this guy can sub for a black and white picture tube. It's a magnetically deflected CRT, but it does have the recessed snap-in high voltage connector like you see in the 12RP4 and the Dumont Clifton I've been working on. And the base you would need to make an adapter for. But aside from that, it would work. What else do we have? Oh, this guy. This one I got purely because it looked cool. Dumont. It would have been for a rather nice 3-inch scope. I say that because they put the connections for the deflection plates right out the side of the neck to have absolute minimum amount of stray capacitance, inductance, noise pickup, so rather than running them down through the pins and all the way up through the neck, you go right into the side. Also, there's a super flat face on it. Huh. Also rather on it says 10WP7. Well, it certainly isn't a 10-inch CRT face, and it doesn't look like P7 phosphor. So this is P7 phosphor. There's a yellowish tinge to it. So that doesn't seem right. What does the box say? Box says 380P1. That sounds a lot more reasonable. However, I can't deny that that is what's printed on it. Alright, I'm moving along. This box says 3ACP1 Dumont. Another super flat face CRT. It also has a high voltage connection on the side, however, no connections for the deflection plates there. They're on the base. Even though it's a little shorty, it has this huge base on it, and this should be compatible with the 7JP4. And as I showed in some experiments a while ago in my series on electrostatic TVs, when you use these and you don't connect that to anything, it seems like it still produces an okay image. That's an extra intensifier voltage. Normally that'd be where the highest potential voltage connects in there. Like post-deflection acceleration kind of thing. This would be connected to high voltage coming into one of the pins. I think it's pin 9. But they give it an extra little oomph at the end there with this side connection. Next time I work on an electrostatic set, I will certainly give these a spin. Alrighty, there's this box. Let's civil in here. This guy, that was everything that says Norelco on it, which means it was made by Philips in the Netherlands. Philips couldn't sold in this country because it's too close to Philco, so they had to rename it. That is a 3FP7. Again, this should sub for a 7JP4, and you can leave that connection off. Made in USA by North American Philips Co. Interesting. So it's a foreign company making CRTs in the US. Is that what they're saying? Interesting. And 3JP1. This will most definitely sub for a 7JP4. What's this guy? Oh, you got another one. Except, I think we got a problem with this guy. Dumont. Oh, that's a bummer. It's a P5. I'm not sure what color phosphor that would be.
But I think it's all for naught because that getter looks really bad, like air's gotten into this. If I had to guess where, it'd be around that button. I don't think I've ever encountered P5 phosphor. It's a 3JP5. Well, we'll give it a try. I mean, nothing ventured, nothing gained, but that does not look promising. And finally, there's a box of Russian CRTs. I have not looked at it. I just saw this little guy and then I grabbed the box. Not helpful that the original number is worn off, so I have a little bit of trouble figuring that out. But it's a little itty bitty baby CRT. A little stubby high voltage connection up there. 2 inches, I guess. Thereabouts. Odd base. You know, without finding data for it, it'd be pretty tricky to use. This is a clone of one of the CRTs we were just looking at. Maybe it's a 3JP1. Or, no, I think that might be P7 phosphor. Let's see, one way you can tell is if I shine a bright flashlight on them. It'll glow for a while. No, that didn't glow. Try one that's definitely P7. Kind of hard to see, but that is glowing. Super clean. Oh, I do have data. Maybe this is data for that little guy. Hard to say. Anyways, this is the last one. Looks like it might be, I don't know. Yeah, same thing. Looks like this does have data. And here. Ah, same as that other sheet. Okay. So there's a data sheet for that CRT. And that's that mystery solved. So we'll have some fun playing around with all of these when I next work on an electrostatic set. I already mentioned tubes. Yeah, I got a bunch of early TV type tubes, including 1 or 2 more 807s. This is the real prize out of the batch. It's a 6807. So if you've been watching a Do My Clifton series, there's a little meter in there. And when you tune FM radio or the TV sound, the meter moves. It's a tuning aid. Well, subsequent sets, they ditch the meter and switch to this tube. And you watch a little green bar move up and down. So this would be used in the Dumont Doghouse and later sets. And they're often worn out, so nice to score a new old stock one. Otherwise, tubes are pretty mundane. How much just 6 BA6s as well, which I also needed for the Clifton and some other upcoming projects. Which leaves this. This is the most interesting thing. I saved it for last. They had, this It's called a silent auction, consignment sale, something like that. So after the main auction, the swap meet, there was stuff at the museum. This belonged to the guy that I got my RCA RR-359 from. He had brought a few sets and some odds and ends to sell at the event, and I picked up this little basket of stuff. Now, not all this was in here. The 807s I took out from the museum's tube stash and bought them. And as I mentioned earlier, this is a Potter and Brumfield relay for the Dumont Clifton I got from another collector. But this is what was in this little basket. So odd mix of stuff. One, we've got an ancient can of tuna wash, which is ozone safe, but it's certainly a bit older, so you'd spray onto a cleaner to flush out gunk. May or may not give that a whirl. Then we have a whole bunch of publications. A book, Fink. Kiver, Milton Kiver. I've recommended his book, Television Simplified, many times as a great primer on how to work on vintage TVs. Well, apparently he did one for FM radio as well. This one I have not seen before. This is going to be pretty early for FM sound. 1947. So that should be a fun read. And Television Simplified, Milton Kiver. Again, this is a really good thing to have if you have the B&K 1077 television analyzer, because this basically goes through and it talks in general about troubleshooting TVs, but it really has an emphasis on using the B&K television analyst. There's a lot of screenshots showing it in use and describing how you can use it to troubleshoot TV problems. Alright, this guy, actually I already have a copy of this. This is a silly publication. They put out, a lot of companies put these out back in the day. Basically, instead of spending money on having a repairman come out to fix your TV, do it yourself by just flipping through this book. Basically, it has some fundamental things like if you lose vertical deflection, maybe you should try replacing the vertical output tube and run down to the dime store and pick one up and pop it in, and hey, maybe you'll get lucky and you'll fix it yourself. RCA Picto Guide. I've seen a lot of these over the years. Similar concept. You flip through here, and if you see a problem, like if your screen looks like this, you have this defect on your screen, you can go through and try some of the things they suggest to fix the problem. It's a sort of a, well, it's a picto guide. It's pictures to help guide you through fixing your TV. There's some miscellaneous parts in here. Vertical blocking oscillator transformer. More tubes, but these are the ones that I put in there that I've gotten elsewhere at the event. Chassis bolts. Some miscellaneous knobs. A nice big fold-out schematic for the RCA 621 TS. So when I get around to working on mine, somebody already saved me the trouble of having to print out and blow up the schematic. I can work off of that. Very nice, big, large, easy to read. Well, that's cool. 2024 printed at Walmart. Fujifilm. Huh. Curious. So it's a black and white photo showing the Philco field test set. Yeah, Philco had some as well. It wasn't just RCA experimenting with TV in the 30s. So what did he do? Take a photo of a photo? Or somebody must have the original, because the quality on this is too good. So some duplicates must have been made of an original photo. One of these does exist. That's about all I can tell you. But there is a collector out there who has one of these. Incredibly rare, you might imagine. Looks like some masks. I've done this myself. When you're working on a TV and you've got the TV out of the cabinet and you're adjusting the height and width of the screen, sometimes it's not so easy to know how exactly, what the extents of it are going to be once it's in the set. So if you duplicate the mask, you can tape this to the front of the CRT while you got it on the workbench, and you can make all your adjustments before you put it back into the cabinet. This, actually, I think I found an image of this on eBay a while ago when I was working on my Sylvania Halo light. And coming across all these silly promotional items that Sylvania did back in the day, and this was one of them, the official Sylvania Buck Rogers Space Ranger kit. So if you sent in some money, I'm guessing, or maybe you had to buy a TV, you would have gotten all this silly stuff for your kids. What else? Turn off some radio. Oh, so the full RCA 621 TS service info. Copy of Radio Age from 1996. More on early electronic television receivers. I better take that out and peruse it myself. Some TV schematics. Got some Sam's photo facts. Add that to my stash. Alright, then we have this, which I think I already have a copy of, but it doesn't hurt to have two. This is a wonderful publication from Philco on how to service early TVs, and I believe the main focus is the Philco 48-1000 throughout this. That image may look familiar to some of you because I posted it recently. There's an exact image with the same two women sitting there, but it's a different set. It's the Philco 48-1000, and this is a different set. This might be the earlier edition before the 48-1000 was actually on the market. I don't know. Is there not? Copyright 46, yeah. So they're talking about pre-war sets in this because they didn't have one on the market quite yet. But they're gearing up for it, that's for sure. Fun thing to read through. What else? Yeah, there's a Spider-Man comic in here. I do not know why. It's from 1987. All I can think is that it has maybe something TV related, because apparently the baddie in this comic book looks like he's got a CRT for a head. I don't know. Another servicing pamphlet from Sylvania this time. Same deal. They show you images of defects and tell you what to check. Printouts. Oh yeah, and this is gorgeous. It's a RCA 1948 sales brochure. Looks innocent enough, but when you unfold this, it's really pretty because of the inks that they used. And purples and reds. I really need to get a scan of this and frame it or something. So, early RCA sets from 46 and 47. Getting better on this side, I think. And here's one from 49. The longer you wait, the more fun you miss. Every day, more fun, gaiety, and excitement than you've had in years. And all you have to do is buy a television. See if I can unfold this without tearing anything. And there we go. With an orange theme for this year. Another sort of photographic reproduction of a photo. Here's another photo, pre-war set. I think it's maybe a British set. Let's see, cardboard envelope, nothing in it. This guy, I think there's decals in here. I had already peeked into this. Yeah. Just use the tube. Oh, well. It's an original Farnsworth ad. Farnsworth Television. Farnsworth's very first tabletop set. Depend on Farnsworth for fidelity. Farnsworth Television Radio Corporation, Fort Wayne, Indiana. So, basically, they were an odd assortment of things from the early days of TV. Alrighty. I think that covers everything. That is going to be it for my 2026 early television convention coverage. I'm going to dive right back into work on the Doom on Clifton. Thanks for watching.